had competed for a scholarship to study abroad, all expenses paid my junior year of college, but I'd gone home to Maryland to work 2 summer jobs to pay for travel and book expenses and spending money. And I was at the tail end of my summer. It was Memorial Day weekend, September 4th. I had finished my 2 jobs, worked out at the gym for 2 hours because I was training for a half triathlon, and drove home from a friend's house at 1 a.m. And as I was driving home, it was about a 45-minute drive, I remember feeling so tired that the lights that you see, you know, when you're driving on the side of the road were just like little blurs, like Christmas lights, and I knew, ooh, this is really bad. I should probably do something smart, like pull over and sleep a little bit, but I didn't. I kept driving. I was about a half a mile from my mom's house when I fell asleep at the wheel, drifted across 2 lanes of traffic, and here's where the story gets really good. I struck an 8-foot iron ship's anchor. When I do something, I do it big. Dead on, literally. And the car, I had a Saturn, it kind of crumpled up around me and pushed me between the seats as the engine block came up. And it just kind of blew out the joints in my right leg. So kind of like popping a balloon. It popped my ankle joint and popped my knee joint. So I was in the car and kept trying to get out. I kept waking up not remembering where I was, knowing I was in trouble, losing a lot of blood. I had been bio-pre-med before, so I was thinking, oh, that's a piece of the talus. Completely anachronistically. And luckily, some kid was walking along the street from a party. It's a very rural area in Maryland, surrounded by farms. And he saw me or heard me screaming, ran and got help, and they cut me out of the car. The first year, I was in the University of Maryland Medical Center for 5 days in shock trauma, having multiple surgeries to try to stabilize the knee and ankle. And they put in at that time something that looks like, have you ever seen the movie Hellraiser?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you've seen, it's called an external fixator. And it's this huge, awful Tinker Toy type cage of metal where the pins go directly into your bone and extend out through the skin.
Like Pinhead.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's like, man, if you were dating before, you better just kiss that goodbye. Any kind of fun clothes shopping, that's gone. It sticks out through your skin, and you have to clean the pins like 3 times a day. And the use of this device is because you have such drastic fractures that casting alone is not enough. Internal fixation with pins is not enough. They literally have to immobilize a complete section of your body. So I had a 15-pound giant fixator on my leg for the first 9 months, and I was going back into surgeries about once a month. It was interesting because the first time they came, physical therapy came in the hospital room to get me up out of bed. The physical therapist missed the note that I had torn all the knee ligaments and also fractured the patella, and that had been repaired. And everyone was gone at the time. I forget why. My whole family had come to the hospital, to take care of me and try to save Jen's leg. And she got me up and tried to get me up on crutches. And the full weight of the fixator, pulled the knee. And so I passed out, went back into surgery. And that was a simple mistake, but it had such drastic consequences. I had 2 pins that came through the heel, out either side, like a rotisserie spit. And my dad ran out to his car and got a shoestring from his work boots and tied the shoestring to either end of the fixator. And so for 9 months, as we were rehabbing the knee, the only way that I could move would be to yell or ring a bell for someone to come get me from my recliner, which had a board out, and the fixator was resting on the board, and they would pick up my leg with a shoestring, and I would, hop up on my left leg and use a walker, and literally it was step by step. I was like walking the dog. If you're a proud, self-confident, independent, and egoistical, accomplished person before, and something like this happens to you, you literally can't move on your own. You spend a lot of time reevaluating what you're doing with your life. I had 9 months in a chair basically. We were doing physical therapy exercises to rehab the knee every 2 hours, and the series of exercises took 30 minutes. This kind of story, it sounds awful, but it will be so familiar to anyone who's been through this kind of thing, and you just kind of, amazingly, if you survive it, it changes you. It's like it all of a sudden your core is molten, and you're something different when you come out on the other side. So hopefully there are people who have experienced this and come out of this type of thing positively. As difficult as all of this was, I wouldn't change any of it. I'm a completely different person today than I was then, emotionally, mentally, physically. I was kind of a bright but really lazy kid, and I didn't really have to apply myself at all. And I knew after the accident that I had a second chance. You know? I knew absolutely that I wanted to encourage other people who were in this type of position to value every moment and every movement. It was the only way I survived. It's the only way to stay sane. You think about, I'm going to do this small thing, and it will give me a sense of accomplishment. You know, all of a sudden, like rolling over in bed. God, the first time I could roll over in bed at night, I was like, yay, I just won the Super Bowl, you know? And we don't talk about those kinds of things as people who are patients normally. But I think it's so important to celebrate them and to celebrate those small accomplishments and to have people around you who value that. So I started trying to look at ways to encourage other people to make smaller, healthier choices and to celebrate them as accomplishments. And there was a woman with cancer who emailed me about I Move You. And she had been, a competitive athlete before her cancer. And she was thanking us for enabling her to feel like she was accomplished again. She did like a minute of sit-ups, This is kind of the most incredible thing about it, that it's just, God, if we can give people the reward structure for these things which had been so easy for them, I don't think there's any kind of more important work. So I'm really thrilled, and I feel responsible for the things that we're building now in a way that I think is probably different than the reason a lot of people start companies. Be prepared. Prepare yourself mentally and physically like you're running a marathon.
Like a marathon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I hate the platitude, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, but it's really true. I had a friend, an investor, tell me very, very recently, Jen, we're betting on you like you're a thoroughbred, not like you're a quarter horse. And for me, being ready to accept that kind of calling and the effort that would be required was incredibly hard. It took me another 1.5 years before I had multiple CEOs that I know say, you can do this, you have to do this, go out to the valley and do it, just get it done. I wasn't ready. I had to prepare myself for what to me still at times feels like martyrdom. You're gonna sacrifice so many things that you never expect. I gave up some very controversial things. I left a marriage. I left a very good income, a nice car, a house in the Netherlands, my dog. The mission literally will take over your life if you let it. And I think for some types of companies and some kind of sectors, and in the era where transformative leadership is required, it will take that commitment from you. And if that's something that you don't have, in addition to a very high level of risk tolerance, a very high degree of comfort with uncertainty, an absolute willingness to look deeply and scarily into yourself and your own motivations and question them repeatedly, multiple times a day, this probably is not the job for you. Now, the good news is, if you are that kind of person, you probably won't survive doing anything else. You're probably one of these people who's really smart, really driven, has a fascination with an industry, and you're jumping from job to job. And that's actually a pretty good sign. If you're antsy and you feel like you're not getting enough of the things you want to get done accomplished, you probably have entrepreneurial tendencies. If you layer on some kind of need to build something or for me it was fix something. I don't code, I'm not a developer, so I can't go out and build a platform myself. I'd have to go off to a mountaintop somewhere and learn Python, which I don't have time to do. This utter drive to fix something. There's some problem that just eats at your gut. you're another step closer to being ready. Surround yourself with advocates early. Find the people who are passionate about what you're passionate about and who passionately believe in you. Admit when you're wrong quickly. Always ask people, why am I in jeopardy of failing? What are my flaws? You know, what's my weakness here? And let them talk. Be ready to hear things that you really might not want to hear and accept about yourself. Because that's the only way you're going to get better and the only way you'll succeed in having people work with you and follow you. For me, I would say it's the way I classify my life as kind of pre-accident and then post-accident. Pre-accident, I was not an entrepreneur. I was a loner, and I had a lot of kind of the geeky and analytical tendencies of a potential entrepreneur, but also a potential scientist who would be perfectly happy working at her bench on her own. After, it was very different. I realized that I would have to extrovert painfully for me, in my case, because I'm on Myers-Briggs, I'm an INTJ, almost classically. I would have to extrovert to get things done because I couldn't get it done on my own. But when I looked kind of deep inside, that was always there. The miracle is that I fought it so hard for so long. And I don't think my timing could have been any different. I'm older as a first-time founder than many of the people around me are. But I had to kind of wrestle with it, whether or not I thought it was just something that was in me. And then now that I know it is something that's in me, so much has changed. I don't make excuses for it anymore. And that's really tough because it means that personal relationships, a lot of other things come second. I mean, even my health, or ironically, considering the company I have.
So I need to challenge you.
Please do. Please challenge me. Everyone, please challenge me. You know, I actually have people now challenging me to go to sleep because they know I'm sleep deprived, or chillax. Like, all right, Jen, I want you to go just sit for 5 minutes. And think, oh my God, 5 minutes is an epoch. You know, the dinosaurs lived in that. Like, I can't, there's no way I could sit here for 5 minutes. But it's been an amazing transformation, I guess, because I haven't ever found anything that made me feel that I was part of something so much bigger than myself, and requires the repeated commitment that entrepreneurship does. Having people believe in what you're working on, there's nothing more fulfilling, absolutely nothing. So if anyone has a drive for that, or kind of a taste in the back of your mouth that might be something that attracts you, go for it. Your education level doesn't matter, your income level doesn't matter, male or female doesn't matter, but you gotta be really, really ready to go all in.